Hey everybody, we're back for another vlog. Today we're going to be talking about the guitar process for the song that we're working on. So we're actually going to be talking about some gear today for a change. Should be a fun change of pace. Let me get you guys over to the guitars and we'll talk about them. All right, hopefully this isn't too unsteady. Here I'm raised up in my powered wheelchair here so I can give you guys a better angle here. And I'm holding tripod by two of its legs to try to keep this steady here. But anyway, let's talk about guitars. So the two that are front and center right here are obviously what we're going to be using for this. Got both S100s here. The new Kim Thayil one from a couple of years ago, year and a half ago actually, and then a 97 reissue. And so main rhythm sounds are going to all be on this guy here. You guys can see the tape on the treble side there, so I can keep those strings from ringing just to make it performance a little bit cleaner. And like I said, we're going to be doing all the rhythm guitars with the one guitar. Very similar to how Soundgarden did Super Unknown guitars. I do like to follow a similar method that Michael Beinhorn used there, just because it's a good method that works, which is same guitar for basically all rhythm sounds on a song with a blended amp sound, and I'll explain how we're going to do that in a little bit. But anyway, yeah, that guy's going to be the rhythm guitars. There's going to be 3 tracks for each rhythm guitar, and it's going to be a double on either side, you know. So we're going to have one set of tracks on the right and the other on the left. Pretty normal stuff. So showing the tones and for why it's like that. Talk about the pedal board in a second. We got the Fender Bass Breaker here. I'm using only the amp for one of the rhythm tones, and we've got it on high gain mode with the gain just past noon. Lows, or the bass is turned just below noon as well, and the mids and the treble are up a little bit at about 1 o'clock, 1 or 2, somewhere in there. And to be more specific on the gain, and the low end is, the gain is like somewhere in between noon and 1, just a little bit in there, and then the low's like at the treble. The bass is at like 11 o'clock on the dial with just a little tiny kiss of reverb. I've got it on just a little bit just to give it a tiny bit of room kind of sound. You're not going to notice it a whole lot. It just gives it a little bit more life. And then the volume is turned to about 11 or between 11 and 10 o'clock. I think it's more like 11. This amp is pretty loud, so that does fine with it, especially since we've got the JHS little black box attenuator thing. So yeah, that's basically the rhythm guitar is one of those sets. And then the other set is, you guys can see the pedal that's red there. That's a Rev G4 V2 overdrive. And what we're going to do for the other set of guitars, because this does low end a little bit better than just the amp on its own, we're going to drop the amp into medium gain at about 12 o'clock with everything on noon. And then with the pedal, we're going to have the pedal on, give it some extra mids, noon treble, have the gain just under noon because we're using the blue channel on it. The volume, little bit past noon. We may put that back at noon so it's not adding extra. And then bass, I've got it rolled off a little bit just because it adds a lot of bass, so I don't want it to be too crazy. And that's our other set of rhythm guitars, which are both getting a DI here, as you can see with the DI box here going in, and then the through goes back to the pedal chain and then the amp. So that's how we're doing that, so that way everybody will be in phase when they go in the interface there. Got all 4 channels plugged up. One of them is the vocal microphone. The other 3 are just amp stuff. And then the microphones are a Blue Ember, which is discontinued. When Logitech bought Blue microphones, they discontinued everything except the Yeti because they're competing with the other computer peripheral companies, and they just got rid of everything, which is pretty sad. I guess that's the way it goes. And then the SM57, because it's always there. Trusty microphone. Propped up on a box from the mic stand that it sits on, because it was a little too short. So yeah, that's the main tones right there. The other guitar we are going to be using for overdubs and lead stuff. So any overdubs that we're going to do are going to be done with that. And they're not going to be like rhythm overdubs, you know. They're going to be kind of a lead guitar response kind of thing, you know, how some bands do like Pearl Jam or something like that, you know, where they have a lead guitar that's playing other little things at times during the rhythm. And then obviously the guitar solo will be played on that. Now, as for the DI stuff that I commented on before of us having a blended amp tone, yes, those DIs are going to be used for part of the guitar tone. They're going to have some amp tones put on them to make it sound extra big. Like both of the DIs we're going to get from this guy are going to have that treatment. And then this is not going to get that. It is going to be DI'd, but what we do with it is going to be different for that. Now, obviously, we could stack some tones here, but probably all I'm going to do is I'm going to reamp this. So we're going to play all the overdub and lead stuff on it as a DI, and then reamp the DI out, the black box that's underneath the DI box. Reamp it out to here with the Rev G4 on as well, because it gives you a pretty saturated lead tone, which I need extra saturation, and the wah pedal will be in that reamp chain as well. Of course, I don't use the wah pedal live on anything now because that's too physically difficult for me to do, and there's not really a good way to do that when I'm sitting in a power chair anyway. Yeah, we do the wah in the reamp. Now, before I have done a reamp of a guitar tone and then reamped it again with just the wah pedal, so it comes out of the output of the interface into the wah pedal, comes the output of the wah pedal, or no wait, actually let me rephrase that. So it goes from the reamp to the wah pedal, and then the wah pedal goes straight into the interface. Yeah, that is a way you can add pedals on this stuff. You can take a tone that's already been reamped and reamp it again just with the pedal as the only thing in the chain. It may not be as effective for wah pedal, which is why I'm going to put it in the chain of the reamp, because maybe it'll sound a little better instead of doing it after. Yeah, that's the main thing with that. So the lead stuff will be probably purely the amp tone with the Rev G4. And that should be all the guitars. Anyway, that's all the hardware and recording stuff we got to talk about with the guitars. Hopefully in a clip for the next day, I can get you guys some footage of me actually playing some stuff. We'll see how that works out. That setup is going to be a little more complicated, so to have filming while I'm trying to do that. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I can get you guys something. So I'll see you in the next clip if we get that. Alright, we're back for another day of guitars, and hopefully today I'm going to be showing you guys some actual tracking of the guitars for this song. So if you see another clip after this, then I figured out how to set this up to record some guitar clips. Alright everybody, here we are. Got to tune up first though. Okay, we're tuned up now. I gotta get the amp turned on and everything here, so. But yeah, anyway, the amp is pretty loud for recording right now. This is why I got a pair of drumming headphones to record with, since the amp is right here and I have to be here to record, make sure I don't go deaf. And I mean, these work really well, actually. It's an average across the frequency spectrum of 25 dB attenuation, so I can have this amp cranked to like 100 dB and I almost don't hear it. Well, not almost don't hear it, but it's like at a comfortable volume with the headphones on. Okay, we got to check our levels again. For some reason, my DI level is always not set right when I come back to it. The thing we're recording here is just like a weird kind of bridge kind of thing. It's just a muted part for a little bit. So this isn't going to be much in this part of the clip. Maybe do that again. bars ahead so we don't miss where we come in. The part that's annoying next is I got a palm mute, which is always difficult for me to find the spot to rest this, be able to do that. This is the backing part for the solo that we're doing next, which is different from everything else in the song, but it's following the same pattern as the dead note pattern that happens in the part before it. Okay, there's that. I think that was pretty good. Let me double check that. There's a couple spots where I will need to go back and punch in there, but I think that was a good enough take that we can keep most of that. I may go back and redo that part, I'm not sure though. Okay, for some reason they're just gonna be weird, I guess, right there. Okay, we'll leave that part how it is. I'll see if I need to go back later and fix that. So we'll do one more thing here, and that'll probably be good for this clip. I guess we'll go here to the final chorus. Okay, I missed it trying to get my hand in position for the palm mute when there's literally one palm mute in this chorus part. There's chorus part, that's fine. I think there's a spot where I need to do a punch in there because I missed the chord in one spot there. All right, I think that's good enough for this clip, guys. So we're just gonna do the outro to this clip here, I guess. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow for some more guitar stuff. Maybe I can show you some things on the computer that we're doing with it. So I'll see you guys next time.